And we welcome you to our 2023 Field Hockey Preview Show. Glad you are tuned in. I am Matthew Hatfield. Pleased to be joined by one of the best coaches we've had in the Commonwealth of Virginia in the sport of field hockey for many, many years. She was at Lake Taylor Maury High School, First Colonial, won more than 400 games, state championships in 2011, 2012, 2015. Beanie Schleicher with us here as we preview the 2023 field hockey season, which is already underway across Hampton Roads and beyond. Beanie, good to see you. How you been?
Good. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start off with you a little bit, and we'll also be hopefully joined by Scotty Tyson, who is certainly involved in the field hockey scene, former coach for many years at Kickotan, and people know him quite well. And field hockey aficionados out there know about your background, Scotty's, and all your better teams, players all across the area, and we'll dive into some of that. 12 teams making the state tournament in Hampton Roads in 2022, including a 24th state championship for Cox, 5th in a row. Great Bridge won its 3rd consecutive state championship. Cape Henry won its 8th VISAA Division II state final. Many other great programs out there, whether it's Norfolk Academy, Gloucester, TAB, Pecos, and kudos to TAB finally breaking through last season, and so many others. But Beanie, for those that are unfamiliar with you, you've been around the sport for so many years. You've produced many great players on at the collegiate level, and I know it means an awful lot to you, and including your own offspring having a decorated career across the 757. First Colonial, went on Duke. Tell the folks a little bit about your background and what the sport's meant to you and your involvement.
I started coaching in field hockey at Lake Taylor, and then I transitioned to Maury. And the reason I transitioned to First Colonial is because I wanted to coach Haley. And since we lived at the beach, I had to coach at the beach. And great experience there. Ton of great kids. I think we sent like 33 kids to college, Division I, a couple to Division III. And I have had a lot of really, really good players. Haley was probably the most decorated, though, but actually her group was probably the best core group I had for 4 years. And that I had Marley McClendon, who had a great career at Old Dominion. Gosh, just so many. But then she went on to Duke and to the national team. And then after watching her play and after COVID hit, I kind of got over a little bit. So I wanted to dip my toes into officiating. So I've been officiating for a couple of years now and really enjoy that.
How much is that transition to? I mean, you're a part of it. You're the one from the sideline telling the officials when they make a right or wrong call. You're urging your kids on to keep playing harder, make these adjustments, and then you dive into that. I imagine that's takes a little time, but a lot of fun things with it come with it.
Yeah, well, since I knew the game, I would learn it fairly quickly, but it's a lot more difficult than people believe, and you don't see everything.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of fun. The more you do it, the better you get. So I enjoy it.
You were part of some rivalries back in the Eastern District, Lake Taylor and Maury, and we know about just the rivalries across the state, and certainly a part of a great one with Cox there in Virginia Beach and some other teams across the Beach District. This area, as I mentioned, 12 teams in the state tournament, so many championships year after year. You won a few. Cox wins so many. Great Bridge, this school, that school. What is it about the field hockey talent here in Hampton Roads? Because it feels like it stacks up with the very best across the state and all along the East Coast.
I think it helps that we have 2 water-based turfs, and the teams are able to practice on it. I mean, they got to pay for it, but they can practice on it as much as they want to. And we're the only facility like that in Virginia. So I think that helps these girls get better quicker because they're playing on flat surface. Their stick skills are getting better quicker. I think with the indoor field hockey that we have now, their stick skills automatically get better. So you're seeing the game evolve with these girls' skills.
And just this facility here at the PLEX, we see so many great events year-round. High school games being played here, games with USA Field Hockey. Mm-hmm. It feels like there's something all the time here that's got a field hockey buzz and an attention to it. And I think it's helped elevate the sport's relevance and just the hunger for it. Wouldn't you agree?
I'd agree. We have all the USA Hockey events now here, which is not, it's great, but it is super busy. Like the whole month of July and August, we're just every single day, 7 days a week. But it's great, and they're here all day, all night, and it's really elevated. And the other thing, when the USA teams come and the Nexus teams come, the high school girls come and watch them play, so that helps them as well.
What's the biggest difference from when you first got into coaching and now you're part of the officiating side of things with the sport of field hockey? What's the biggest changes and adjustments, and do you see any more changes forthcoming in the sport as we move into 2024, 2025, and years to come?
I think the level of hockey is getting to be where we're going to see, like when I coached, it was us and Cox. And now I think we're going to see a lot more parity across the board, not just in Virginia Beach, but Danson River, or Hampton, just the Hampton Roads area. The year that we won the state semifinals, we beat Gloucester, but it was 2-1. So they're there.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams are right there too. I don't think we're going to see a lot of more 10-0 games, 6-0 games. They're going to be a lot closer, which is good for the game.
I think that's great for different sports because we see it at the professional, collegiate, high school levels when you have a dominant team or program. We've seen it, in pro football, basketball, baseball. Shoot, take women's college basketball when UConn and Tennessee dominated. Sometimes you have fans that root for that team. I'm sure you dealt with this at First Colonial. They root for you to win if they're on your side. They root for that dominant team, the FCs, the Coxes, the Great Britons of the world, to lose. When you have more parity, some unpredictability, it makes it hard to, you're sitting there. Sometimes before a game starts who's going to probably win it, but now there's a little more mystery, is there not?
I agree. And even when I coached, when I thought I would know the outcome of a game, it's not as fun to coach. It's not as fun to play. It's more fun to play when you win a 3-2 game in overtime. It's more. I think it's just funner to watch. It's funner to play. It's funner to coach. It's funner to officiate. So, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. You've
been a parent of a standout player, and Haley, what would you tell a fan out there, a parent, a young athlete, a coach, an aspiring coach that's just getting into it, and the new younger coaches, about A, building a program, but also B, how you get that freshman or that aspiring field hockey player to maximize their potential and one day be one of the very best in the area and have a chance to play collegiately in the sport?
Well, I talked about this a little bit before. First of all, I think you need to coach year round. I know a lot of coaches don't want to do that, but you really do, so the kids know that you're invested in them. Mm-hmm. And you have to know the game, so you're teaching the skills the right way, and you just have to push them extremely hard and just have super high expectations.
So it's invested over interested, number one. And number two, when you get to a point where, as a coach, you want to elevate, you think you've got a good program, and then you get to great. Is there a moment you look back on when you say it's a seminal turning point, if you will? What is it that kind of helps you get to that point? It's certainly off-season conditioning and all the work you put in year-round is building, the young ladies in the sport to where you can be with the very best. But what do you look back on and says, that helped me as a coach and helped our program? Anything kind of stick out as you look back on it?
I would say culture.
Okay.
Culture is probably the biggest thing. And I think if you're coaching year-round, the girls are with each other year-round, you're building that culture for them to get along and to play well for each other. And what am I trying to say? For each other and for themselves. So just really work hard and to be the best they can be. And these are conversations that, for me personally, I would have them all the time with individuals, with teams. I just think it's important, and it worked for me. So
this year, for folks that don't know, the state championships for VHSL Field Hockey are going to be in our backyard here in Hampton Roads, as the state quarterfinals will be November 7th at local sites, but then the state semifinals November 10th at Ocean Lakes High School in Kellam, and then the championship final games will be November the 11th, a Saturday at Kellam High in Virginia Beach. So once again, it's a hotbed of field hockey right here in the 757 in the city of Virginia Beach. So many great matchups that we'll be highlighting on a weekly basis here on our Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, nvbsportsplex.com for all of you. And then for the tournament time, as we see the weather cool off a little bit, Beanie, which we all love, getting into October, November, it gets a little chillier out there. You get that fall, almost winter feel with Christmas around the corner, Thanksgiving before that. Of course, you start to see the best of the best, and it'll heat up in that respect. But I think it's a lot more wide open than it has been. You touched on that. We'll dive into our next segment, some of the players and teams to watch out for a little bit more in depth. But as we look at this coming year for field hockey that's already underway, feels like there's a lot of buzz because so many teams lost some great players, but then that also brings on the new emerging names and prospects to watch out for.
Right. Agree.
And as we finish up this first segment here, we'll take a time out here from some of our sponsors that make this possible. What's the one or two storylines fans should keep an eye out for this year, as far as whether it's new coaches, defending champs? We know Cox has got this record of 24 titles, 5 consecutive, maybe a surprise team or two. What's the one or two things that maybe is really the thing that's captivating you right now as a fan of the sport and someone that's really invested into it, that says this is something that we should keep an eye on?
I think some of the teams that have not won a state title or have not been really, really successful are going to start emerging. I think, who did I just say?
We're just talking about Gloucester, right?
Gloucester, I definitely think has a good shot of winning 4A. I think Princess Anne's emerging.
Okay.
I really do. They got a good coach in Don Warner. I think First Colonial and Cox certainly aren't out of it, but I think they're going to be pushed a little more than they have been.
Okay.
I think Norfolk Academy probably should win another state title. They have a lot of talent returning, and they have a huge roster, a lot of depth. And I guess we'll talk about some of the players later, but I think, what's that school in Suffolk?
Nansemond River.
Nansemond River. I think they're going to surprise some people.
Which there's been some talent out there years past. We saw what Tara did at Lakeland.
Yeah.
Nansemond River seems like they're the school that's sort of taken the the bull by the horns, as they say, or by the throat here. They're really coming on strong, and they're playing, I think, a pretty challenging schedule of a mixture of teams in the Southeastern District and outside it as well.
They are. They're playing Norfolk Academy. I just looked at their schedule.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they've played them before, but that's good. They should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a couple of really key players there, and they lost some players too, though. But they look in the preseason, they look fairly strong.
Sounds good. Well, we'll get Coach Schleicher's take on some of the scheduling and some matchups and some teams to watch out for as we move along here in our 2023 Field Hockey Preview Show. We thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. But right now, we're going to take a quick time out and hear from some of our sponsors, beginning with One Life Fitness.
Wait, hold up. DQ put fries and onion rings in a chicken strip basket? Did you know this? Oh, of course you did. It's sitting right in front of you. Sorry. I mean, you got fries and onion rings together. Is this for real?
Hey, baby, wait.
Oh, yep. That just got really real. Grab a chicken strip and fry rings basket.
Okay, just one. Just one.
DQ, happy tastes good. Get it delivered at DQ.com.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
And we welcome you back here to the Virginia Beach Sports PLEX, Hatfield Field Hockey with Hatfield at the PLEX, joined by Beanie Schleicher, who was with us for our first segment of our 2023 Field Hockey Preview Show. We're now pleased to be joined by the man that is the one that assigns the officials and has been a part of the sport of field hockey for many, many years. Used to be the head coach, if I'm not mistaken, at Kickotan. We're here with Scotty Tyson. Scotty, thanks for stopping by. How you been?
Hey, you bet. Doing great. Just excited for another really great season down here. High school in this area is incredible, and I don't think people ever really give it enough credit because it's special. There's 3 big states that worked in this country, and we're definitely one of them. And this area is just phenomenal. So excited to be around it again.
Yeah, you've been a part of coaching so many great ones and some memorable games over the years, just like Beanie, and now you're getting to see it from a different side of things with the sport of field hockey. I asked this to Beanie earlier, and we'll dive on some teams and some players to watch out for in just a moment. What makes the 757, the field hockey talent in this area, concentrated across whether it's the beach, the southeastern, the eastern, the peninsula, Bay Rivers, and even the private schools, so different and unique from other parts of the state, and really recognized, I think, nationwide and along the East Coast with some of the very best?
I think just years ago, some people in this area really promoted it and worked really hard to get the grassroots, the younger kids involved. And then, coaches like Beanie and Taylor at Cox have done such a tremendous job putting us on a national kind of view. Norfolk Academy is another program they're ranked in the top 10 in the country. It's really cool. So our private schools, our public schools have really embraced this sport. And I guess the weather here allows us to play pretty year round. The surface that we have here at the RTC is amazing. And that helps the younger kids learn the game and enjoy the game a little more than the grass. And now every school's putting the other turf in. So it's just pretty cool. It's just a sport that's really had some great people involved. And the girls that we've had come out of here that played at the national level, I think give the younger ones another great reason to play. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's the creme de la creme, as they say, when you get to come here to the training center and participate, because we were talking about this with Beanie earlier. You have year-round so many different events here, whether it's USA Field Hockey, Nexus, you have the high school teams, championship games here. The Big Ten was here just a couple of years ago. I mean, this venue and surface is with the very best when it comes to having the sport. I think it's given it more eyeballs and notoriety, if you will.
Oh, without a doubt. The best kids in the country were all here 2 months ago for a 3-4 week time. And they range anywhere from 12 to 24. The college kids were back here as well. And it's amazing. This Sunday at ODU, North Carolina, the number one team in the country is going to play there. So, and ODU's having a great year. There's just great high school teams. There's great college teams. It's a cool state. You go 45 minutes, get to watch William & Mary, Richmond. It's just neat. Good stuff.
And a shameless plug, if you want to see that match and hear some commentary, Beanie and I will be on the call for that ODU and Carolina matchup on Sunday with ESPN Plus. Well, Beanie, let's shift back. Scotty just talked about it with Norfolk Academy. They've scrimmaged, I believe it was the Hill School out of Pennsylvania, who's right there as a top 5 program. It feels like year after year. Just beat First Colonial 4-1. Joji Purdy with 3 goals for the Bulldogs. And once again, Coach Berkshire's got an awesome program just stacked with talent.
She does. One of the hot ones is Brooke Betancourt, who's committed to Wake Forest. Joji, she's a good one as well. She has quite a few. She's loaded.
37 goals, 22 assists a season ago for Betancourt. If you're doing a top 5, top 10 list, it feels like she's got to be on that list, whether you got her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you name it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
As we look at them, last year losing the Division I final, you've seen this. You were part of that rivalry with Cox at First Colonial. When you lose in a state championship and you bring back a lot of players for the next season, what's the key? And Scott, you can follow up on this as well, being a coach for many years at Kickinton and seeing this. What's the key to getting the team to take that next step? Because I imagine there's a burning hunger already inside to now go further when you're that close to winning the title.
Right. I think losing it is probably the only motivation you need, honestly, coming back, because they really want it. But then you just got to keep working as hard as you possibly can in the offseason and then during the season.
And Scott, it feels like Norfolk Academy, much like we see it with Cox and other programs that we'll highlight, Great Bridge, they want to schedule the best of the best. They don't care if it's public school, private school, from Hampton Roads, other parts of the state, or even out of state.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think one of the things that I didn't like about the VHSL with their bracketing was you got points for wins, things like that. And so it discouraged some teams to playing great teams because they wanted to be at home in the regional tournament or whatever. So, but now I think the coaches have realized it's just crazy. Let's just put our kids up against the best. I think losing hurts, but losing makes you better. or can, and kids have to learn that. And so why not play the best? If you get to the finals of a state tournament and all you've done is beaten people up all year long, and all of a sudden you're down 1-0, your kids are going to lose their mind. And I've seen that with some teams, and so it's really neat to see the ones that just always play the best. It's cool. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, Scotty brought up an interesting point there, Beanie, because I've seen this in a variety of sports, whether it be football, basketball, softball, baseball, soccer, you name it, field hockey too. It feels like with the new point structure and with the VHSL having the divisions from Class 6 to 5, 4, and then now 3, where it's multi-schools, if you will, even some schools that are like a Pocosin in Class 2 now play up to Class 3 with field hockey. It feels like if you're just trying to get in the tournament, you might schedule easier. If you're trying to win the whole thing, you might have to be cognizant of who you play. It feels like it impacts the way you schedule as a coach. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Is this something you think will get tweaked in future years?
I hope so. I think it's a bad thing because
Okay.
when I was at FC, I had a very hard time getting people to play me.
Yeah.
Except for the schools that didn't matter, like a Cape Henry or Norfolk Academy, the private schools who can do that. And I think they would be more apt to play if it didn't matter, if it didn't count against them.
Yeah, and I think that also is true, Scotty, too, with sometimes a private school in other sports, or be it field hockey, they might have someone to play them, or they want to play them because they're either great or not so great. So I think you see it with the signing of officials. The scheduling sometimes is a little quirky for teams out there.
Yeah, and I look back at like years when Tab would win the whatever they were. They don't have a big population, so they were in a smaller division, yet they were outstanding, and they had just some great players. But even then, that would be a decision where, like, for a First Colonial or a Cox to play them was kind of scary because you didn't get the points for beating them, even though they were great. And if you lost to them, now you've lost to somebody, it just didn't make sense. It's just crazy. So I always felt bad for them too, because I knew they wanted to play up and play higher competition. Winning 11-0 as a coach, to me, it was way more difficult than losing 2-1. I mean, it's just, you get yelled at when you run up the score, but yet you've got kids who don't usually get to play. You put them in, they want to score. How do you tell somebody not to score? So it's crazy. And I think it'll go back to where it should.
You're almost in a lose. Yeah, for sure. Let's hope. You're almost in a lose-lose, even if you're winning, right? When it comes down to that. Before we get to the Beach District here, and we'll focus on a lot of teams across the 757, but certainly here in the Beach at the Sportsplex. You're up tab, Scotty. Let's talk about them for a second. Beanie, because Mika Hilberger's second leading scorer for them is back for Coach Wendy Wilson, whose team was 46-0 the last 2 years. They did graduate 14 players, which is an awful lot. But I think you look at them in Region A and classes 1 through 3 in that division, where they have a great chance to get back, even though you have some teams that are lurking like a Pecos and like a Grafton, but it's not as fierce as, say, your higher divisions in the regions there. So there's a chance, even with a lot of new faces, for them to get there come playoff time?
Oh, I think they'll get to the region for sure. I don't know how tough some of these other teams are. I think we'll have to see a couple of scores before we can really make a guess, educated guess.
Yeah, it's a lot like we see with college football now. They have these polls out, and then you see these crazy upsets where a Deion Sanders and a Colorado wins, or a team like Clemson loses to Duke. It's easy to forecast, but then there's a lot of middle mystery teams, if you will, middle of the pack there. One team that's not a mystery, and both of you know them quite well, it's Cox. Taylor Rountree has got another great program, 24 state titles they have won. They do have to replace some key pieces, but for them, I think a lot of it begins with Megan Spear, who is just one of many, many standouts, headed to Dartmouth, 24 goals, 23 assists a season ago. She's the straw that stirs the drink, if you will.
Yeah, I think she's a phenomenal player, very technical player, fast. She's very skilled. She's smart. She definitely is the glue for them. Irma Gray.
Irma Gray, yeah.
Taylor's daughter. She's a good player too. I don't think she's committed yet, but they have a pretty good, solid team. But like I said before, I think this is going to be the most parity we've seen in quite a while.
Yeah, Taylor's other daughter just scored last weekend, I think, at Ohio State. So that was kind of cool, or very cool actually. But yeah, I think they're going to rebound. They do. Spears is fun to watch because in certain games they'll put her in the middle of the back line. Other games they'll put her up front. She's capable of playing all over the field, which is really cool. And getting back to Tab, Wendy Wilson is just a great coach that just has built a program of kids that want to play when they're younger and just continue to grow. And they do reload. That's one of the scary things right now is a lot of JVs have lost a lot of numbers, and it's just taken a toll on the varsities. And hopefully we can get all that back because that's where some of these teams just will continue to always build because they have the younger kids coming up, and then you've got teams trying to catch them that don't have the younger kids, and it's just you're chasing your tail sometimes. So hopefully we can get those JV programs back going. Middle school lost those 2 years during the COVID thing, and that is really starting to add up.
Still recovering from COVID in a lot of respects. Some programs don't have as much depth as they used to, right?
I think this year is the biggest impact.
Okay.
Are we 2 years out? 2 years no hockey?
Yeah, 2000 and 2001, there was no spring sports. So it just, to try to get a 14-year-old girl to try something new is a lot different than, the 11, 12-year-old middle school kid who want to try something and find out they're really good at it. So, yeah, it's taking its toll right now on these varsities and JVs big time.
But certainly the versatility and interchangeable parts with your premier programs is why they stay at or near the top, along with that coaching expertise. When you mentioned Taylor Roundtree at Cox and Wendy Wilson at Tab, who, for both you all, Scotty and Beanie, who could be maybe that team in the Beach or elsewhere that challenges Cox? We know that they've got this run of dominance, and everybody is just circling them, targets on their back as always. Princess Anne's an up-and-coming program. First Colonial, despite the loss to Norfolk Academy, has some talent. Kellam's one to watch out for, though it's a different division there. There's some teams that are trying to get to that level. Are they quite there yet? Time will tell.
Yeah, I think Don Warner's at Princess Anne. He's a great coach, was at St. Catherine's for years and won state championships at the private school level. And, it takes a couple of years to build your program. This will be his second year. And so they're going to make some big strides again, I'm sure. And again, Nicole at Kellam does a great job. They're one of the teams with a full JV. So, that really helps. It's going to be tough to catch them. First Colonial's got some tremendous athletes. And they'll get there, and two new coaches that are going to do their best to make that happen. And they have a JV. So I think there's some teams that'll challenge them. Cox is great, but that everybody's chasing them and looking for them and going to do their best against them. So all it takes is one little letdown, a weird goal here, and all of a sudden you're behind, you see what happens. So you never know.
Could be an upset special. I know one of the players we were talking about before the preview show, Beanie, was Sydney Reguini, I think it is, at Princess Anne. She's one that we could be circling in some future broadcasts here on the Plex. Her name could be circulating on social media and newspaper of having a couple of big games, and one that they'll, certainly lean on as they try to make a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, she's a good player. I think she's committed to JMU. Scotty?
Yes, I believe she is. And they also have Sarah Ellis at Princess Anne, who's an outstanding player. She's going to go to the University of Richmond. And so there's a core there for sure. And again, a coach that's going to get them, make them better. That's for sure.
Yeah. As we look at some of the other divisions and teams across the 757, you highlighted earlier, being a team to watch out for is Gloucester. Another one, Nansemond River. They've got 9 of 11 starters back, and it looks like they're building towards having that breakout year come tournament time. And we say breakout year come tournament time, which is interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't they in the state finals just last year? So it feels like they were there, but a lot of people didn't know they were there. Just because you just kind of say, we write Cox's name on the trophy, if you will, before the game's even played.
Yeah,
right.
They were not only there, but they were in that game and could have won that game too. They had a couple of breaks that, may have gone against them, but and they played a great team. But yeah, that's a really good team. And Aya Woods is one of their leaders this year. She's committed to Iowa. So that's exciting for her. Allie, the coach at Nansemond River, has been there a long time, and they've had a really long run of a good, solid program as well. So it'll be interesting. They've got a lot of young kids. I've actually officiated them a couple times this year. They played, I believe it was a scrimmage against First Colonial, but it was certainly back and forth, and either team could have won. First Colonial beat them, I think, 2-1, but could have gone either way. And like I said, they're young and they're gelling and they look like they're having fun. They're workers, and it'll be interesting to see how far they go.
Aubrey White was a first-team All-Performer, All-State as a sophomore for them. And the Southeastern District, and you've been in the Beach, Beanie, you've been in the Peninsula there, Scotty. How different is it in terms of some of the teams in the Beach than when you get to the playoffs? Because they are playing some classic schools, your Western branches, your Grassfields, your Oscar Smiths, those type of schools. How different is there at all an adjustment for a school like Nansemond come tournament time for them?
I don't think so, because I think they're playing top-notch players. Like I told you, they're playing Norfolk Academy. They're playing Cox this year. I mean, they have a tough schedule, so I think they'll be okay. As far as the other schools, I don't know what their schedules look like.
Great Bridge used to not really schedule a real difficult schedule, and I always got a chuckle out of it because they were going to win that whatever region 4 or whatever it was. But now they're reaching out and playing Cox and playing Norfolk Academy, and they're taking on all comers. And the two coaches there, are great. They've been around for a long time, husband, wife, and they've got some really good young players, and they've got some players who have graduated from there that went on to play hockey at top schools as well. So they're definitely around for sure. And I think that, again, like we talked about earlier, the only way they're going to get better is to play other teams, because unfortunately there's some teams that they have to play that are struggling a little bit with experience and things. So they've stepped it up in big time.
Yeah, Lily Johnson's back for them, along with Mackenzie Cummins for the reigning 3-time state champs who make that transition from Class 4 to Class 5. And they got a freshman in Bella Steckline who's going to be key for them. And moving up to Class 5, Scotty's going to be more of a challenge for them, because they know could be standing in the way to their chance of getting to the title game is Cox there. But I think that makes that region come tournament time. Tell me if I'm wrong, and you can follow up, Beanie. I think it makes it more compelling for us all when we get to November.
Oh, I think it's great. And I think, again, Class 3, your quarters and your semis they walked through some of those for years, and that doesn't happen anymore. Now you get to the quarters in Class 5 or Class 6, and you're playing another horse. And it may be on the road a long way away too. There's weird things that can happen. So it's going to be really a big challenge, but I think it's great because Great Bridge, again, is one of those ones where there were years when they could have been as good as any of the divisions. Or at least very competitive with the top ones. So now they get to play against them and see what they've got. So, I think for Katie and Jim, the coaches there, they're just going to look at that as a great challenge. And you're right about Bella Steckline. She's a great hockey player, but she's going to be a freshman on that back line facing some horses again. So it'll be cool. I wish her the best.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes those quarterfinals and semifinal games not where you pretty much know who's going to take it when you walk in, Beanie. It makes them more interesting. And I don't know if they're going to be upsets per se if you get one result, depending on some of the draws that we get.
I agree. And I think in the past, if I would go to a game, I think I already knew who was going to win the game. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. And I also think Great Bridge is smart by playing these better teams. They're going to get better for the playoffs.
One more segment to go. Beanie, Scotty, and I will finish up with you as we give you our 2023 field hockey preview show with some odds and ends and maybe a matchup or two to watch out for, a player breakout or two, and maybe a team that we'll be looking forward to as a sleeper out there as we finish up here as we get you set for the 2023 field hockey season in the Beach District, the Eastern to Southeastern Peninsula, Bay Rivers, and beyond with private schools too, right here on our SportsPlex YouTube channel, as well as Beach SportsPlex online. Let's hear from a couple of our sponsors helping make this possible, and that is none other than Dairy Queen. It's not fast food, it's fan food.
Wait, hold up. DQ put fries and onion rings in a chicken strip basket? I mean, you got fries and onion rings together. Is this for real?
Wait.
Oh, yeah, it just got really real. DQ, happy tastes good.
For more than 23 years, we've made it our mission to lend peace of mind.
Even when times aren't very peaceful.
We know that every borrower is unique.
That's why we put you first in every step of the loan process.
At Atlantic Bay, we are dedicated, now more than ever,
to providing digital tools, resources, and a lending hand.
To help you reach your home dreams.
Because we're here for you.
Whenever,
wherever,
however.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients, and we're more than a hospital.
you.